better way to start this video than with a joke, an icebreaker, dare I say. Allow me. Knock knock. Who's there? It's 2010. They want their trend back. Anyway, welcome to my Draw My Life. I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. I originally intended it for my 200,000 subscriber special here on YouTube. Then 300, then 400, 500, and now 800. So anyway, welcome to my 830 something thousand subscriber special. Woo! I have ADHD, okay? Also, the last whiteboard I had gave me a really intense allergic shock, so I don't know. I feel like the universe was giving me signs to do it now. So anyway, welcome to my Draw My Life. I hope you like it here. I hope you learned something about me that maybe you didn't know before. You might recognize the set. Not a set, it's Sylvia's bedroom. I do like filming here. Oh, whoa, I said her name and she just came home. Sylvia! Our story begins in a hospital in Bavaria, where I, Victoria Caroline, was born. I was born as the youngest child into a family of a German father, Hungarian mother, and my brother, who's by the way 2 years older than me, which makes me bilingual. The question I get asked very often is if my entire family is ginger, because I'm ginger. And I'm really sorry to disappoint, but my father was not Ed Sheeran, my mother was not Ed Sheeran, and my brother was not Ed Sheeran. And it's so much so that none of them are ginger. And actually, I was born completely bald. So much so that the doctors could see their little reflections right upon my forehead. I was born completely bald with a shiny, shiny head. A few months later, my hair started growing in, and in the beginning, it was just a little bright fuzz. My mom thought I was gonna be blonde like my brother. No matter what type of lighting she held me in, my hair had a red hue, and eventually it was undeniable that I was gonna be a ginger. And by that time, it was too late to return me. I'd say most of my childhood, I was pretty happy. I was a pretty jolly little lass, I'd say. And then came elementary school. One of my pretty key defining features, and also part of my username, Redhead Begins, is that I'm a ginger. A little something happened when I joined elementary school, and that is what I like to refer to as bullying! Woo! Fortunately, I was the only child with red curly hair in my class, which made me stand out a lot. And additionally to that, I was the only child with a Hungarian mother. This, unfortunately, made me stand out enough for everyone to pick on me. Yep, and my whole class just picked on me a lot. Now, unfortunately, the bullying is one of the main memories I still have from elementary school, because also the teachers joined in. I had teachers who said, "Oh no, you can't sit in front. However, would the other students see with your massive hair?" I had curly hair. What do you mean? It wasn't 7 feet tall. However, something pretty cool happened, because when I was just 9 years old, we flew from Germany to the USA. That's also where I picked up English in a way. I don't sound like this all the time. When I was in America, I also went to an all-American high school, and I was not able to speak English at all pretty much in the beginning. I quite literally introduced myself saying, "Hello, I'm Victoria and I'm German." I really loved swimming. I was actually in a swimming team where I entered a competition and was given a bronze medal, as a medal that everyone got because I was last, because I didn't realize it was a competition. Everyone dove in head first and I just kind of splashed in with my butt, and then I just floated in the water until I eventually came out. But I learned that I really, really loved water. I loved being underwater. I loved diving. I loved exploring. I loved wildlife. I really, really love animals. And those were some things that really brought me a lot of joy. I also really liked drawing and art and anything creative. I also had some pretty weird friends in Germany. I had one friend who punched me when we were playing the wings. Then I also had another friend who pretended that she didn't know me once I came back from America, because she was embarrassed to be friends with me. So she said we should be secret friends, and we only communicated through a typewriter that she owned, because she didn't want any letters between us to be found that contained her handwriting. I wasn't very good at picking friends, but I didn't just have shitty friends. I also had some really cool friends who I played a lot with. We played a lot of make-believe. We played Twilight. We played Lord of the Rings. To sum it up, in elementary school, I wasn't super popular. Although I was the class clown, I was pretty funny even back then. I was also the poster child for ADHD, but no one diagnosed me. You know, I'll be honest, it wasn't an easy time for me at all back then. But I also realized that I'm a very creative person. I love video games, movies like Lord of the Rings. I could really just envision myself in all of those universes. And I was also very inquisitive. For example, one time I tried to hallucinate using ping pong balls and a red lamp. There's actually still a photo of that. Which leads us to the second chapter, me in high school. I was actually accepted into an elite gymnasium. There's different school forms in Germany. Gymnasium is the highest form of secondary education. High school changed a lot for me because it was kind of like a fresh start, new people, new class. Suddenly I wasn't bullied as much anymore. I also had a lot of phases, so I was also very much trying to find myself. I had the normal Vicky, who now started straightening her hair phase. I had an emo Vicky phase. Actually, the red hair is very much not accurate because I once dyed my hair almost black. And I also had a weeb Vicky phase. I know I make jokes about about it, but I was genuinely once a weeb. Most consistently of all was one Vicky, and that was class clown Vicky, who made a lot of jokes and who was a bit, dare I say, of a rebel. It was actually once the teacher conference just because of me, because I was that much of a class clown and that much of a disruption. So sue me! One of my takeaways in high school was that it's not super easy being an undiagnosed ADHD child. In hindsight, I wish people would have just noticed because I was literally the picture book child for ADHD. But aside from that, I think it was a really good time for me to explore who I am, who I want to be. And yeah, you know the fun part that comes at the end of high school, you know, where everyone graduates? Well, I got diagnosed with a borderline tumor. So pretty much while everyone was celebrating, I was stuck in the hospital and had to have surgery. And they also took my Momentum. But I'm healthy now, I'm all good, thumbs up to the doctor. But afterwards, something super cool happened, and that's that I went back to America. I studied acting and psychology in college for a year. I really loved being there. I got to live with my aunt. I had a super cool best friend, and my aunt had a really cute dog and cat. And it was just super happy year in my life. I got to figure out what I want to do in my life, and after a year, I decided that acting is something that I want to pursue, which made me come all the way back to Germany. One thing that I also noticed when I was in America was that I felt super comfortable just being myself. I was able to pursue acting, which is something that I've always wanted to do ever since I was a little child. While in Germany, people just kind of laughed at me and said like, oh, you should get a real job. I realized pretty soon that I didn't want to stay here, which then led me to think about it and realize, aha, I could go to London, and I wanted to try to pursue acting there. It was at the ripe age of 19 that little Vicky decided to go to London by herself. Oi mate, Team Crumpets! And it was a year where I learned a lot about independence, a lot about what being an adult is, but also one of the hardest years of my life. I got stuck doing office jobs, and I did a lot of business-to-business sales, which if you're not familiar with, is basically just manipulating people into buying stuff, and I really hated that job. I really didn't like it. After a year, I was super burned out because I was also working 14-hour days. I didn't have very good friends there, unfortunately, and I also made some very unfortunate experiences that I will not be going into detail with. After a year, I made the decision that this was not the right time. I think it was a case of just wrong time, possibly in the future right place. I was really also struggling a lot mentally when I made the decision to come back home. So I just want to say huge thank you and shout out to my parents.
Did you tell them about the crimes we do?
So back to the depressing part of the story. Oh my god. So without any questions asked, my parents happily let me back home. I was able to recover from my burnout. I had actual burnout at 19. I was able to just rest and figure out what I want to do with my life. One of the main themes was I always wanted to do acting. So I realized then it's still super important to me. Going to London just wasn't the right way for me, and I decided to go a bit of a more classical route, and I applied to drama school. I worked really hard. I got into drama school, and here's where my life got so much nicer. As I was in drama school, I got to do what I really loved. I got to act. I had really cool classmates and friends who were just so supportive and super nice. I had 2 cats. I started doing social media. And I was also in a place called Terapia. I was in such a nice place suddenly, and I was able to find who I truly think I am, and that's just someone who loves entertaining and who loves to act and do silly stuff and who loves animals. I don't know. I like to think that there's a lot that I healed from and a lot that just made me stronger, and I like to think super empathetic and caring person, and that those are traits that I'm super proud of. Something that also happened while I was in drama school is I found my love for TikTok. That's supposed to be a phone, by the way. I don't know why it got this huge out of hand. I learned that I was very passionate about making these silly little videos online. But there's one thing that happened while I was in drama school that was not so fun, and I'm probably gonna cry, but I want to tell the story anyway. And that's that one of my cats, Ruffy, unfortunately passed away due to FIP. It was very sudden, very unexpected, and for me, cats are family. It was something that really affected me very deeply. In relations to my content creation, the way that his death affected me was that I stopped making videos online for a whole year because I just didn't feel inspired anymore. So I had to grieve a little bit. After a year, I started posting videos again, and not much later, I stumbled across a little Italian woman you might recognize called Sylvia. Yeah, the rest is history. Now we're roommates. Also, after drama school, I also did some voice acting. I forgot to say. Jump to now, and I am surrounded by nothing but love and happiness. And I'm genuinely the happiest I've ever been in my life. I have the best friend in the world who's also my roommate and soulmate. I have a very, very loving boyfriend who's also my soulmate. I have me, who's, I guess, also my soulmate. I'm creating content on all these platforms, and I don't know, I'm just so happy that I just get to be creative and have such a loving community. And there's also a way that my cat that I talked about earlier ties into this. I also now have the opportunity to bring out my own merch/fashion label where Ruffy is the mascot and where part of my proceeds will be donated towards research against FIP. And it just means the world to me that I'm able to do all of this and that I've come so far and I found truly my happiness. I couldn't be happier, and I owe a lot of that to you guys as well, which is why I want to say thank you guys so much. That was the drama life. I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you guys liked learning a little bit more about me. Anyway, let's end this like we always do.